On November 25, 2022, a strange call for help broke the silence in Riverside, California. A worried neighbor had seen a frantic 15-year-old girl with a face full of fear being led away by a scary-looking man in a trench coat and a mask. This strange man, who looked too old to be her friend, had parked his car in the family's driveway before entering the girl's house. When they came out, the girl was dirty and upset. She looked at her neighbor as if asking for help, and her lips moved in silent, desperate cries as she was put in the car. As they started to leave, after writing down the license plate number and a description of the car, the neighbor saw that the girl's house had been set on fire. The fire department went to the fire or intentionally walked into a horror scene. When they walked in, they saw 3 dead adults bound and gagged. The scary things were just getting started. Before we begin, if you find this video interesting, please give it a thumbs up at the end and tell me what you think about the case. It helps the channel to grow. Also, don't forget to click subscribe to watch more videos like this. Thank you. Austin Lee Edwards, who was 28 at the time, was the owner of the license plate. Here is some information about Austin's past. He was born and raised in Richmond, Virginia, and attended high school there. After that, he worked at Walmart and Lowe's. He told his friends he would work hard to help his family escape poverty. A few years later, in 2017, Austin chose to go to Southwest Virginia Community College to get more education. Even though he had no degrees or certifications, he followed his love for video games and Comic-Con events. Austin worked as a policeman for the Virginia State Police in Henrico County, which was a big surprise. He started training to be a police officer in July 2021, and by January 2022, he was done. When someone wants to become a police officer, they undergo a thorough background check. Austin seems to pass all of the necessary tests without any problems. Still, on October 28, 2022, soon after getting a new job at the sheriff's office, Austin decided to quit the Virginia State Police. Only 3 weeks after he started his new job, he was put on patrol in Washington County, Virginia, where he continued to show how hard he worked and how much he cared. Austin tried different jobs on the force to find his way. During this time, the deputy state trooper, who was 28 years old, started talking to a 15-year-old girl who would stay nameless. She was online while he lived and worked in Washington County, which was a lot of miles away. He made himself look like a 17-year-old boy. It's unclear what pictures he used to show his lie, but it could have been an app. But the Californian girl, who was 15, was excited. She thought she was talking to someone her age or a little older, and she didn't think this was strange, as this is how all kids talk. They talked on the phone, texted each other, and played games online. Friends of Austin said they knew he had an online girlfriend a few years younger than he was. They played Minecraft together, but they never knew how young she was. During this time, Austin was able to earn the girl's trust and find out specific information about her, like where she lived. When he asked her to send him naked shots, they switched places. That's when she stopped talking to him. Things started to go wrong. Even though we didn't know much about their relationship before what happened, we can learn something by looking at one of Austin's other relationships. After he was arrested, a 21-year-old woman saw his picture in the news and chose to talk about what happened to her. Seeing his face made her feel sick because she hadn't seen him in years. In October 2014, they met on the website Omegle, which lets people meet randomly through video chat. She was 13 years old at the time, and he was 20. After that, they gave each other their Skype names and started talking outside the app. The next day, their talks quickly took a strange turn when Austin asked for naked pictures of her. The woman had nearly 4,000 messages that showed Austin kept pressuring her to send him naked pictures, even after he found out how old she was. She gave in to his requests in the end. She also said that Austin did graphic things on camera and tried to get her to remove her clothes, but she never did. She also said that he would talk badly about people from different groups. In one message, Austin said he knew the girl's age, as the next conversation shows. "Did I tell you I went trick or treating?" Austin wrote on November 6, 2014, "I totally did. I am 20. Me too," the girl wrote back. "I'm 13. They came over the years." First, Austin called a teenager his girlfriend and asked her for naked pictures all the time, threatening to hurt her if she didn't give them to him. She thought he was crazy because of the way he was acting. She also said that he would show off his collection of knives and hatchets when he was on the phone. One of these hatchets was used on the night of February 6, 2016. This evening, Austin and his father, Christopher, watched the Super Bowl together. People say that they each had about 2 beers that night. Later, as they were sleeping, Christopher woke up to weird noises from the bathroom. He saw what was happening and found that Austin had locked himself there. Austin showed the young girl what he had done to himself over the phone. But when Christopher used a tool to open the door, Austin put down the phone, and his father saw that he had a big cut on his hand. Christopher called 911 immediately to get help, and Austin ran to his room. When he found out that his dad had called for help, Christopher stopped Austin from leaving the house in the kitchen. When the ambulance came, Christopher was keeping Austin down. At first, they thought it was a medical emergency, but Austin's behavior was so strange that they called the cops, who came at 3:30 a.m. The police found a lot of blood in the house, and Austin was fighting against his father and the doctors. He yelled and said bad things to everyone. A cop pulled out his taser and asked to see Austin's hands, but Austin dared him to do it. Christopher got his son to stop fighting, so the police could handcuff him and take him to the hospital to get his hand fixed. Most people would have calmed down in the hospital, but Austin said he would kill his father as soon as he was freed from the handcuffs. Christopher, who had bite marks on his arms, refused to see a doctor. The officials then put Austin in a mental hospital, which helped him get better faster. Later, it was decided that Austin was a big risk to himself or others and couldn't take care of himself or meet his basic needs. Christopher thought that relationship problems caused Austin's angry behavior. He thought that his son and his girlfriend had just broken up. He wasn't locked up for long, and he was soon let out. He sent her another message saying, "I'm trained to know what these people want to hear so I can get out of these places easily. I give them the information I know they want to hear." The girl, who is too young to be a criminal, thinks she is the lover the future criminal's father talked about. She says that Austin often told her about his plans to hurt himself. He told her she was the only person he had and threatened to kill himself if she stopped talking to him. At one point, he told her she was the only thing keeping him alive. In 2015, Edwards also told the girl to be violent with her family. When she told him she couldn't Skype because her mother was home, he told her to kill her and threatened to give himself a black eye if she didn't obey. After messaging each other for 2 years and trying to break up several times, the 15-year-old girl chose to block Austin. But he kept messaging her on different Facebook pages, even though she never told him her real name. The woman said Austin's violent actions against the girl and her family didn't surprise her, since she knew how scary he could be. She couldn't believe someone with so many mental health problems could become a police officer. She couldn't figure out how he got through all the necessary checks, considering how bad his problems were when they talked. Both the Virginia State Police and the Washington County Sheriff's Office said that none of his previous bosses had any complaints about him. They also said that everything was fine with his police check, fingerprinting, and psychological tests. They had no reason to think he was dangerous to himself or anyone else. Others who know how the background check system works said that they think Austin got these jobs because of a mistake made by a person. They said that whoever did these checks might have forgotten something in the management system or not called the right places to check the records. I wanted to tell you about this past contact I had with a young girl so you could see what may have been going on in this murder case, which was probably a lot of manipulation by a deviant. Officer Austin, who was 28 years old, kept telling the girl who was 15, that he would buy a house and they would live happily ever after. Even though the girl agreed, she probably didn't take it seriously because she thought she was talking to a boy her age who lived on the other side of the country. Still, on November 14, less than 2 weeks before the accident, Austin bought a $79,000 house in Saltville, Virginia, a small country town. He said he got the house closer to his friends and family. It had 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. The seller thought it was strange that Austin asked for a video of the basement. Neither the street nor the rest of the house interested him. He only wanted to know what was in the basement. That's scary. But the seller agreed, and the sale went through quickly. And when Austin moved in, his strange behavior didn't stop. He quickly put window shades and blackout curtains on all the windows to ensure no one could see inside. Another house stood between the house and the main road, giving it even more space. A friend of Austin's said he had talked to the girl on the phone about moving in with him. Friend said that Austin had always liked to keep to himself. His recent behavior seemed strange. But one neighbor who talked to Austin thought he was fine and was glad to see a police officer in the area because his wife and young child were often home alone. These kinds of replies show that Austin doesn't scare people away immediately. This is scary because he does strange things like blacking out his house, but some people aren't scared. As I said before, Austin knew the girl's location. Maybe he learned his lesson from the last time he didn't know the real information about a girl. The girl's grandmother lived in the house. Mark Winnick was 69 and a well-liked soccer, baseball, and softball teacher for many years. He was known for being kind and humble. His kindness went beyond his job, and people in the neighborhood knew him for helping those who needed it. Sherry Winnick, his 65-year-old wife, was known as a warm and caring person. Her love of baking and spending time with her family, especially around the holidays, showed how caring she was. Her 38-year-old daughter Brooke, who lives in the house, shared her love for family. She took care of her teenage daughter well, even though she was a single mom. I know one thing for sure about this family: they were very close. When Austin asked the young girl to send him racy photos of herself, things between them changed in a big way. When she refused and stopped talking to him, he got very angry and violent, just like he did in 2016. Austin couldn't accept that their online relationship was over, so he went on a 2,600-mile trip that took him about 40 hours. The way Austin reacted was extreme and scary. His choice to drive all the way from Virginia to California shows that he is obsessed, determined, and doesn't care about limits or the law. It makes me feel very uneasy. But it's scary that Austin's car has been seen in the neighborhood up to 2 weeks before the attack. This is a small town, so it's not a big deal when a strange car pulls up. And when it's there more than once, it doesn't get lost. This could mean that he was scouting the area before he moved in. The family seems to have had a normal Thanksgiving. Aunt Michelle and her husband came over to make brownies. They didn't know that girls were in danger. She said, "I don't know if my mom's brownies should be frosted with sprinkles or just left plain." It seems silly now, but that's a conversation and debate that will always stay with me. That day, my husband and I didn't know that it would be the last time we'd see our parents and sister. The next day, while we were shopping for Christmas lights, I got a call from their neighbor of 22 years. Austin had parked his car in front of his neighbor's garage and was watching the Winnick's house. When the neighbor heard the noise, they came outside and told Austin he couldn't park there. Austin said he was sorry and drove his car onto Winnick's land. Austin wore a mask and trench coat to hide his face and broke into the house. He tied Mark, Sherry, and Brooke up and put a gag on them before killing them. The exact details of this horrible act have not been made public, but the brutal way he held them down shows a level of cruelty that is deeply disturbing. When a neighbor first saw the strange car, she also saw the 15-year-old girl walking toward it, looking like she was about to cry. The girl had no shoes on and no pants on. When that friend called, he looked at her, seeing it as a call for help. But no one said anything right away. Someone on the street called the cops. Austin saw that the neighbor was worried and sped off with the little girl. As soon as they got there, the cops found the house on fire or could not do anything until the fire department got there. They could only watch as the house went up in flames. After the fire was put out, the bodies of more than 3 family members were found, which was very sad. The cops told everyone right away to keep an eye out for Austin's car. After 3 hours, Austin and the girl were found driving in a car, and the cops gave chase. Still, police were able to get him to pull over, and once he did, they quickly circled him. The scared girl got out of the car by running out and screaming and crying, while there was a shootout. Austin shot at the cops with his service gun before he finally turned the gun on himself. The 15-year-old girl was taken into custody, and she was in a lot of pain. Specialists took care of her. She had lost her mother and her grandparents because she thought flirting online with a boy her age was harmless. Michelle, the girl's aunt, later said something from the heart. Catfishing led to the deaths of the 3 most important people in my life: my dad, my mom, and my sister. This started as an inappropriate online romance between a predator and a child. She continued this as an adult who traveled across the country to kidnap a 15-year-old girl, my niece, our family member, with the intention of kidnapping her, and in the process, killed and devastated our family. He took an oath to protect, and he failed to do so. In a tragic irony, Austin Edwards should have embodied safety and protection as a state trooper. He was supposed to uphold the law, maintain peace, and safeguard the innocent. Instead, he turned into the very danger he was sworn to protect against.